Hello, everyone. My name is David East. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm a big Eleventy fan. I work on the Firebase team at Google. And if you don't know this, Google is a place of a lot of Eleventy fans. There's a site called web.dev. It's an amazing website for learning all sorts of web development principles and fundamentals and things. And it's all totally written in Eleventy. On the Firebase team, we do lots of early access programs for things that we release and get testers for. And all of those doc sites are all written in Eleventy. So we just can't get enough. We're big fans. And so at my time at Google, I sort of vacillate between all these static driven documentation sites, blogs and whatnot. And then I also spend a lot of time working on JavaScript frameworks. Google's a place where a couple JavaScript frameworks have come out of. And what happens when I'm going in between code editors and projects, when I look really close, I start wondering to myself, is Eleventy actually a JavaScript framework? And so I don't know, was I the only person who thought this? So I went and just this morning actually went and tweeted out. I was like, hear me out. Is Eleventy actually a JavaScript framework? And apparently I am the only one who thinks Eleventy is a JavaScript framework. But I'm not completely sure of that, actually. I think I have a good case that Eleventy might just be a JavaScript framework. But if it's not, why would it not be a JavaScript framework? I think it's one reason. Is it because it doesn't ship a JavaScript runtime? No, that's not it. Is it because the author says it's not a JavaScript framework? No, that's not it either. My thoughts, why I think people don't say it's a JavaScript framework is because it doesn't have components. So we think. Because components are the currency of modern day web development. And I'm not going to lie to you. I don't really know what that sentence means, but it sounds really good. Like you could go and tweet it out and you probably get a bunch of engagement. You just spout that off and, I'm sure lots of good things would happen. But components, though, they are super popular. You see them everywhere. Angular, React, Preact, Vue, Svelte, Solid. That might be a new one for you. It uses components too. So components, they use everywhere. They're just everywhere. And for a good amount of years now. Why is that? Well, is it because of all the words you hear like, oh, components they have composition, they're flexible, they have functional monadic interstitial initiatives? I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But I think components are good because they're actually kind of simple. You just have this little function. You can take in properties for customization, got this nice little cozy space for logic, and then you can compose all that into the view that you want. And that's pretty simple. It's pretty cool. And you see with Eleventy, out of the box, some of these templating languages that I've listed here. There's more, there's other ways to do this, but these are the three ones I think people are most familiar with. You have Liquid, Handlebars, Nunjucks. And if you go and do a search through the Nunjucks documentation, which is just one flat page, so you could just do a full search here for components, nothing pops back up. So I guess they don't have components, right? And the thing is with Eleventy templating languages, they come from a day and age where component-based architecture wasn't all the rage. So Handlebars, the first pull request was in 2010, and that's based off Mustache, which came out in 2009. Nunjucks is almost, the first commit for it was almost 10 years old. And Nunjucks itself is based off Jinja, and Jinja is a templating language that's very popular in Python development. So in your Django servers, and I'm not a Python developer, so I'm going to tap out at Django. But it is very common in these server-based frameworks where the pattern that is followed is not component-based, it's MVC. And so I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of MVC. We have this beautiful, I don't know why we always have this architecture, like it explains the whole thing where it's like you got the circles with the arrows everywhere, like that's somehow, I don't know. But what's important about MVC is that one principle, at least that was always at least easy for me to understand with MVC, is you have to go and collect, organize, compute, retrieve, do all that stuff with your data before you send it off to the view. Once it gets to the view only has one and only one responsibility, and that is just rendering it. It's even controversial. Actually, I'm not sure if it's controversial anymore, but at one day and age, it was controversial. Should templates include logic? Should they have if statements? Should they have loops? Should they have stuff like that? And in my opinion, yes, because my brain doesn't work any other way. But that was even the question for templating. Just do the one thing. Just paint the picture, render the HTML. And we can see this in Nunjucks. Here in Nunjucks, we have this list of posts. Zach, this might look familiar because I just shamefully copied and pasted it from the Eleventy docs. And right here, we're just looping through some items. Items got data. And yeah, we can assume that this item collection or this item data just exists ahead of time. Components, though, have an interesting capability here, where you can actually create, let's say, this user profile list. And here I can get my users asynchronously, and then once I get them back, then render. Different frameworks have different ways of doing async rendering, but this is sort of a hand-wavy way of saying I can get my data inside of my component and I don't have to gather it in some controller somewhere. And you can still follow an MVC style philosophy with component-based architecture, but you don't have to. So with Eleventy, though, if we can't asynchronously get things inside, how do we do that? Well, we do that with the Data Cascade. And the Data Cascade is sort of like this hive mind. That's what that thing is right there. That's a hive mind. It looked way better when I was doing it. And now I'm standing up here and I'm like, that does not look like a hive mind. That looks like kind of like a piece of bread that people are taking lots of temperature. That's a whole Rorschach thing. But that's a hive mind, and it's going out to all these templates. We just get all of our data and we can share it across all these places. So Eleventy says, hey, I'll be your model. I'll be your controller. I'll just do all of your pre-computing here, and I'm just going to hand it off to you. So we can get all of that data in line. So I guess I'm wrong, right? Eleventy is not a JavaScript framework. There's no JavaScript runtime. It's not a JavaScript framework. There's no components. Zach Leatherman said so. Well, not so fast. There are components in Eleventy. That's shortcodes. Everyone knows that. And what are shortcodes? In case you don't know that. Shortcodes are a feature for extending templating languages and from their out-of-the-box behavior. Some are universal, so you can do it to other. So you make one shortcode and it applies to Nunjucks and handlebars and Liquid, but some only use the capabilities of a certain templating language. So some specific to Nunjucks. And when you use them, I don't know, that looks awful a lot like a component to me. You have a component name, you pass properties into it, it renders something out. I guess that's one part. We got properties down. Oh, wow. When I go to register it, I register it in this sort of like global location, the Eleventy config, and I add a name to it, and it has its own function scope. Looks very much like a component to me. What about doing things asynchronously? Oh, I can do that too. And in this case, and this specific to Nunjucks async shortcode, I have my user component and I pass in a Twitter username. I have some magical async function that probably talks to the Twitter API and then returns that user information. And then I can render it right inside of this function. That looks very, very similar to something I would do in React, Angular, and any one of those. And what's very interesting here, and this to me, where is what makes it seem very frameworky, is that we have sync and async rendering. So I can get my list of users synchronously, just provide maybe somewhere in the Data Cascade, just have a list of users in JSON and whatever. And then I can then call that user component and it does async rendering and it gets stuff back from the Twitter API, no data from the Data Cascade. And I've found that to be very useful, especially when you don't know what data you need ahead of time, or if you're dealing with tons of contributors where everyone's got to put one thing in the data cascade and then reference it, and then someone updates it and it breaks it in another spot of the data cascade. Just having someone say, hey, the API endpoint is this, render it in your code. It's very slick. So I don't know. That looks awfully like a component to me. And I'm not the only one. I did even more searching. And this guy, Adam Duncan, I don't know him. I think we would be friends though. And Adam, he created a whole project called Eleventy Shortcomps. And I was like, oh, that's a good name. Oh man, I really like that. I wish I would have thought of that first. And then here in Shortcomps, you're just exporting a function, just like a component. You have your rendering logic. I copied and pasted this straight from his GitHub. This is great. I was so happy to see him format it like this, because I was like, that's just what argument I was trying to make. And so here I can say what class, I could do whatever, and then I render out this link or this button. And then I gave it a async shortcomps. Make the function async, await the user with, just get that data back, and then just have a nice little user card. Now, what's interesting is one thing I haven't addressed is, what about the JavaScript runtime? Well, you always do have JavaScript at runtime because it's there in the browser. So if you use web components, and you wrap, this is a click card web component, it's a nice accessible way. Someone clicks into a whole card, it can trigger the main link of the card. I can just build that in there, and then boom, now I have JavaScript running. So Eleventy isn't a JavaScript framework? I mean, there aren't components? Wait, no, there are components. We have shortcodes. And there's no JavaScript runtime? Well, we have web components. So I don't know. But seriously, do I think Eleventy is a JavaScript framework? For friendship purposes with Zach, I'll say no. No, mostly not. But my point here is that what's amazing to see here is Eleventy is a toolbox full of different tools. And you can do different types of site architecture. You do MVC. You could do just a modern component-based framework approach. There's so many different flexible ways of doing it. So when you have people say like, oh, Eleventy, isn't that thing just sort of like, oh, it's all just old school stuff? You can be like, it is, but it's also a bunch of other things. And Eleventy just really, it's flexible in so many different ways that you can use it. So I also wrote an article that has like a ton of more Eleventy tips in it. And this only had like a little section of it, but this to me is one of the, it's one of the areas I want us to talk more about with Eleventy. Shortcodes, async, components, JavaScript frameworks, especially some of Zach's favorite stuff. So that's all. You can make up your own mind if you think Eleventy is a JavaScript framework or not. I would love to know. I'm @_David East on Twitter. I'm also here. You can ask me those questions. But that's all. Thank you. Thank you all thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I've never said that at the end of a talk. I've always wanted to say it.